Good morning, children, and welcome to our EVS 2 session. Dear children, today in EVS 2 we are going to learn lesson number 2, Work of the Saints. In our previous session, we studied that the tradition of saints that begin in Maharashtra with many saints like Sant चक्रधर स्वामी, संत नामदेव, संत ज्ञानेश्वर, संत चोखामेला, and Sant Eknath. These were the saints lived in Maharashtra before Shivaji was born. They preached the virtues of service, sacrifice, generosity, equality, and brotherhood. They created in the minds of people the feeling that all men are equal and no one is high or low. In this group of saints are included like Sant Goraba, Sant Savata, Sant Narhari, Sant Eknath, Sant Sheikh Muhammad, Sant Tukaram, Sant Soirabai, Sant Khanopatra, and Bahinabai Shurkar are also included. The work of these saints can be compared to that of a farmer who tills land, makes it ready for sowing seeds. In our previous session, we also learned about Sri Chakradhar Swami and Sant Namdev. Sri Chakradhar Swami, he was originally a prince from Gujarat who became an ascetic. He moved all over Maharashtra and preached equality. He did not believe in caste and gender discrimination. The sect he established is known as Mahaanubhav sect. Memorable incidents in his life have been compiled in a book titled Leela Charitra. Sant Namdev. Sant Namdev was a great devotee of Lord Vitthal and lived in a village of Narasi. He composed songs and performed kirtans. He moved all over Maharashtra to spread Bhagavad Dharma. He taught the people to have deep devotion to God. He instilled in them the desire to protect their religion. Some of his verses are included in Guru Granth Sahib, the holy book of the Sikhs. Today we are going to study about Sant Jnaneshwar and Sant Eknath. So let's begin with the reading. Page number 4. Sant Jnaneshwar. Sant Jnaneshwar's family belonged to Apegaon. Nirvitinath and Sapandev were his brother. Muktabai was his sister. Bigoted means a bigot is a person who is intolerant towards those holding different opinions. Means people who think that they are always right and they do not like anyone interfering in their opinion. Bigoted men of the time used to look down upon these children because they were the offspring of sannyasi. Offspring means son or child, and sannyasi means hermit, a person who retires from society and work for religious reason. It happens like this. Their father took sannyas and retired from worldly life as a sannyasi. He left home, but later on, obeying the order of his guru, he returned home and started living with his wife. Their 4 children were born afterwards. The narrow minded religious leaders did not think it right that a sannyasi should have children. People persecuted these children and banished them from their community. Once, Jnaneshwar went round the town begging for alms, but no one would give him any alms. He had to listen to abusive language instead. Young Jnaneshwar was deeply pained by this incident. He entered his hut and locked the door from inside to grieve over his lot. Muktabai came and knocked at the door. She said, "Open the door, Jnaneshwar. How can we remain drowned in our own sorrow? Who will then look at the welfare of the world?" These words of his sister gave new hope to Jnaneshwar. He forgot his personal sorrow and started his work. Everywhere, the poor and backward people were being oppressed in the name of the religion. Jnaneshwar went among the people and taught them to have faith in God. Give equal treatment to all, help those in trouble, and allay them misery. This was the gist of his advice to the people. Jnaneshwar's words are heard in every nook and corner of Maharashtra for the last 700 years. In those days, all religious teaching was confined to Sanskrit books. The language of ordinary people in everyday use was Marathi. Jnaneshwar wrote his outstanding book Jnaneshwari in Marathi. He thus opened wide for his people the doors of knowledge, where he preached the ideal of brotherhood among all men. At a very early age, at Alandi near Pune, Jnaneshwar took Samadhi. At this, put himself in a trance from which he never came out. Even today, on the 11th day of Ashad and Kartik, lakhs of pilgrims go to Alandi, Pandari with devotion. Dear children, Sant Jnaneshwar was born in Apega. Where did he born? He was born in Apega. His father had taken sannyas and thereafter returned home and started living with his wife. Sant Jnaneshwar had 2 brothers, Nivrittinath and Sapandev, and one sister, Mukta Bai. As Sant Jnaneshwar was the son of sannyasi, the narrow-minded religious leaders did not think it right that a sannyasi should have children. So they were persecuted and banished from the community. Banishment not to allow to participate in any social or religious event. When Jnaneshwar went round the town, he had to listen to abusive language instead of receiving alms. Abusive language means insulting. Young Jnaneshwar was deeply pained and locked himself in his hut to grieve over his sorrow. Muktabai, his sister, advised him to work for the welfare of the world rather than getting drowned over his own sorrow. Who was Muktabai? Muktabai was Sant Jnaneshwar's sister. And what she said? Don't just think about your sorrow. If we will think only about our sorrow, who will think about the welfare of the world? There were many people around us who are suffering. So we have to help them. After hearing Muktabai's words, he forgot his pain and he started working for the welfare of the people. He taught people to have faith in God, treat everyone alike, help the poor, and relieve their miseries. He wrote the Jnaneshwari in Marathi. In those days, all religious books were written in Sanskrit, and the people used to speak in Marathi. So, Jnaneshwar wrote Jnaneshwari in Marathi so that it can be easier to understand to everyone. He took Samadhi at Alandi near Pune at a very early age. Even today, on the 11th day of Ashad and Kartik, lakhs of pilgrims to the Alandi Pandari with devotion. Let us come to the next topic, Sant Eknath. Sant Eknath carried on the work started by Sant Namdev and Sant Jnaneshwar. He lived in Paitan. He preached that the way to reach God was through devotion, means Bhakti Marg. He wrote numerous religious songs, abhangs, ovis, and bharuds. His advice to the people was not to accept any distinction of high and low. He made friends with the poor and the downtrodden and taught them devotion to God. His love extended even to the dumb animals. He exhorted the people to love all living beings and practiced what he preached. One day he was going to the river Godavari for a bath. It was noon and very hot. The sun bed along the river's side was very hot too. He heard the crying of a poor child sitting on the hot sand. Eknath looked around and saw the child. He rushed to him and looked around for the child's parents. He picked up the child in his arm, wiped his tears, and reached him home. In this way, by his personal example, Eknath impressed the message of love and equality on the minds of the people. Dear children, Sant Eknath continued with the teaching of Sant Namdev and Sant Jnaneshwar. He lived in Paitan. He preached that the way to reach God was through devotion, that is, Bhakti Marg. He wrote numerous religious songs like Abhangs, Ovis, and Bharud. His advice to the people was not to accept any distinction of high and low. He made friends with the poor and the downtrodden people. He exhorted the people to love all living beings and practice what he preached. Means he used to teach that we should not only love human beings but even animals. And he used to ask everyone to practice what he used to teach, means to follow what he used to teach. One day he was going to the river Godavari for a bath. It was very hot and the sand near the riverside was very hot too. He heard the crying of a poor child sitting on the hot sand. Eknath looked around and saw the child. He rushed to him and looked around for the child's parents. He picked up the child in his arms, wiped his tears, and reached him home. In this way, by his personal example, Eknath impressed the message of love and equality on the minds of the people. So, dear children, here we finish with our today's session. We will meet again in our next session with the new points. Till then, goodbye and do take care of yourself. Thank you.